What's up, guys? Happy Saturday. Chuck Silver and DFS Jayhawk here with Occupy Fantasy to bring you the strategy for DraftKings and FanDuel. We got a tight little four-gamer today. I'm looking at the model right now. It looks a little bit weird, right? And that's probably because we just don't have that many great players on today's slate. But Jayhawk, we're going to get into it. How we feeling about today's slate?
Yeah, man, definitely an interesting one. Like you mentioned, not really any clear-cut plays. Like the two chalkiest plays, typically not guys we like to play. So, yeah, let's break this one down, man.
Yeah, last night sucked. I think it should have been okay if you followed the stuff on the show, but for me, that Charles Bassey decision hurt because I ended up swapping all of it to Kelly Olynyk, who played the minutes that we were hoping he'd play. Just usage is very low next to Zion, so something to remember for next time. Unicorn, good to see you. Carmen, Zevin11, nice name. Yeah, we got a couple Q tags. Check them out. Saturday money time. It's crazy. There was like four sports in action today: NASCAR, golf, MLB, and NBA. So that's pretty awesome. It's a great time of the year right now. Let's just jump into it. Start with this first game: Brooklyn at Philadelphia. Slate locks in a half hour later tonight, and then the games are kind of spread out, which is kind of annoying, but it's all right. We'll have a nice, quiet Saturday night. So for Brooklyn, we got a couple guys pulling a lot of ownership. Cam Johnson's pretty popular over on DraftKings, model approved. Zaire Williams above 20% on both sides. And then Killian Hayes is the chalk piece that I think we need to really dig into today because the model says no, but we know new guys on new teams generally don't project well in the model. But what do you think about Brooklyn? What were you looking at here?
Yeah, so shockingly, Brooklyn looks good today. Like most of the season, we haven't loved targeting Brooklyn here. But you mentioned it, Cam Johnson, I think looks like probably the top play here. Good DK value, solid FanDuel value, probably the top click here. And then I did want to hear your take on Killian Hayes. He's finally back, man. 2025. Welcome back, Killian Hayes. 3,600. What's your kind of take here with Killian?
So he's 3,600 on DraftKings, 38 on FanDuel. We haven't projected for 24 and a half minutes. I mean, it's hard to not play these super cheap guys. You got 21 minutes. This was 2 days ago against Cleveland. 12 fantasy points. The model's telling us we can fade. But like I said, I mean, a lot of guys like this Spencer Dinwiddie, Alfred Payton, and maybe the model was right because those guys end up being terrible overall, but they have spiked. And so I think Killian Hayes is a guy that we want to try to get away from, but it's tough because who else are we going to play instead? But then remember, we don't have that many guys to pay up for. So I don't think he's like super necessary today. I would much rather get to not much rather, but it's always the same problem with the Nets. I want to get more exposure here, but I don't know exactly to who. So it ends up just kind of being random for me. But I think we can just follow the model, play a little bit of Cam Johnson, some Zaire Williams. We could probably get over the field on Nick Claxton easily. And then Keon Johnson, I still want to have interest in too.
Yep, agreed. I'm probably just going to mix out the ownership here outside of Cam Johnson. So love that call.
A couple guys at the bottom here, though, like Trent and Watford. I'm getting a lot more on FanDuel, and I get why 4,100 at power forward is pretty valuable. Again, model's telling us that we can kind of just fade him. And so that doesn't mean play zero. It's a 4-game slate. I don't think we want to full fade anyone, but we can get under to 37 pretty easily. And then as for Jalen Wilson and Tyrese Martin, again, model saying like single digit value, even on a 4-game slate, is not great. And so maybe don't have zero, but I would want to be under these numbers for sure.
Yep, I'm not really on those guys as well. So, yeah, aligned with you there.
I will say on FanDuel, I'm getting exposure to 6 guys here. Killian Hayes and Watford. I'm at above 20%. I think I'm going to come down on Killian, though. And then the other guys are just like a few percent tournament darts. Kind of the same
Yeah.
thing on DraftKings, yeah.
How did you feel about Wofford on DraftKings? 4.4K. I think he looks fine. I'm not like huge on him over there.
It's like the model thinks he's bad on FanDuel too, but I have 20% on FanDuel right now. I have 2% on DraftKings, so I guess I don't like him on DraftKings at all. But it's like if I think he's worth 20% on FanDuel, he's probably worth more than 2% on DraftKings, so maybe I'll even that out a little bit. But he just seems like the easy play to plug in. If you can find an alternative, it's probably good to mix someone else in.
Yep. Yep.
No, Keon. Keon's okay. He's the guy who, for me, is just kind of there at 5,700. That's tough on FanDuel. 5,200, 16% sounds pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like kind of mid pack with Keon. I think he's okay.
It's like him and Zaire are pretty similar, but the model likes Zaire much more today. So, see, other side of this game, Philadelphia. We just got a couple pieces of news. Lonnie Walker is going to make his debut. I think we had him projected for less than 10 minutes, so probably doesn't matter. And then Justin Edwards. They're hopeful Justin Edwards will return on Monday, so he's out for today too. We're probably going to get these five as a starting lineup, right, with Quentin Grimes in there.
Yep.
So we have, remember, it's an 11.5 point spread. It's very low total, 212.5. This team isn't pulling as much ownership, but I think we can take tournament shots on guys like Maxey, Quentin Grimes, maybe Embiid. I don't know that I love Paul George, but at his ownership, he's okay. He's under 7K on DraftKings now. Did you like anyone a lot here?
First of all, probably no on Paul George for me. He just hasn't looked right, man. Playoff P all over, right? But I think not huge on him. Joel Embiid, 22% owned on DK. We don't have like a bunch of true spend ups, so I think he's fine. Good price. And then I actually kind of like Maxey. Spend up guard, 5% owned. Probably my favorite like low on play here.
Maxey, yeah. I didn't even get there on a DK. I think I need to adjust some things because I got a few percent over on FanDuel, but on FanDuel, pretty much I just got Quentin Grimes. Everyone else is 3% or less, but 20% plus Quentin Grimes on both sides. So it looks like that's going to be the guy here, and he is model approved, top of DK value for this team, top of FanDuel value. Remember, usually I consider 14 elite value for DK and 13 elite value for FanDuel. So elite play today at 15 and 16%. Despite everyone else being back, yeah, his usage is low, but the minutes have really been there for Grimes. And so even when Embiid was in, like if we can get over 30 minutes, we have him projected for 34. So maybe that's a slightly high projection. I'd rather have him at 33, but really like Quentin Grimes, that's my favorite spot from this team.
Yeah, and then definitely a pivot off of a kind of chalky haze there as well for a couple hundred more.
And I do want to mention Ricky Council, the flat mid on DK, 3% owned. Not a great play, but 4-game slate. If he helps you construct a lineup that no one else can get to, that works. And if he ends up getting more than the 14 minutes, because they're down some bodies today. There's no Kyle Lowry. There's no Justin Edwards. McCain's been out and Eric Gordon's still out. So he could be in line for a few minutes. We don't have Jared Butler on the model. I guess we probably have him projected for less than 10 minutes, but he's still here too. And so if it was just one of Council or Butler that was available, I'd like to lean into it. But here it's kind of tough because do you have anything about that situation, Council versus Butler?
Ooh, that would be tough. I think I lean Council. I just think I'd probably play him a little bit more. 14 minutes in the model. I think Council for me.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to get to either of them. I have 3% Council on a DK, and that's about all that I would want.
Yep, agreed.
So no Watford. I think Watford's fine. I mean, he's going to be my highest owned net on FanDuel for sure. He's a plug and play guy. I'm not sure what the ceiling is, but we might not need that ceiling today. Just if he fits and he projects okay, he's fine.
Definitely FanDuel preferred, like you mentioned.
Would you pick Luka or Maxey? Pretty low on Luka right now. I'm a very big Lakers fan. I guess I'm not that big of a Lakers fan, but I mean, Luka on the model. He's way down here. This might be the lowest we've ever had him ranked, and we do have him for 34 minutes, which is pretty insane. I will say we're getting him for under 10% ownership. It's like he's going to have a good game when he's on the Lakers, and I'd like to be there for the first one to catch him at this low ownership. But just straight up, I mean, the model is going to say it's Maxey. It just that savings, that 1,500 is pretty significant. 800 on FanDuel, slightly less significant, but the 9,700 for Maxey is also tougher. So what do you think?
It's so close, like you mentioned. I think Maxey, just until we know what Luka's production is going to realistically look like we don't have like a huge sample size yet. So
my problem with this Lakers team right now is I don't think we know what offense we're running. Like JJ Redick hasn't figured it out yet. It seems like LeBron and Luka are just taking turns, and like if you see just the cherry picked clips of Luka Doncic playing off ball, he has no idea what to do because he's never played off ball, and so it's tough. I think we just need to give the ball to Luka and say, hey, go take over. Like, that's what we got you for. But I don't think we're going to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to see them just funnel Luka, man. That would be incredible.
When putting together a player pool, what's the realistic amount of players to have in that pool, and what would be the top 2 criteria a player must have to make that pool? So just saying, like, what's a number of players to be in there? I don't think that's the right way to look at it. It's always dependent on the slate. Uh, what's the top two criteria? Number one is probably minutes, and then what would be your top criteria, Jayhawk?
Minutes, and then I guess you could add like usage rate into that. I mean, kind of.
Yeah, it's like I consider usage.
That's tough.
Yeah, I want to say something related to ceiling, maybe. So
Yeah.
that would be related to usage, like potential. What's their median projection versus ceiling projection? Like Trendon Watford, for example, great median projection. Like he's going to give us 20, 24 fantasy points a lot of the time. But how often is he going to give us that 31, 32? Now, on today's slate, it's not necessary. We don't need 31 from Trendon Watford for him to be a good play. But I guess that's how I would kind of think about it. That's why I would want to shy away from guys like Watford and try to get other guys who, I don't know, just have a better potential at a ceiling game.
Yeah, definitely ceiling. I forgot to mention that. Like you want to have guys that can win you tournament rather than just min catch. So that makes sense.
You're off council because Lonnie Walker makes his debut today. Yeah, I think that's totally fine because it's going to be kind of murked up. I mean, they could all just play 12 minutes each, play single entry only. Yeah, I think that, I mean, it's what most people should be doing if they're only making one lineup a night. With the Lakers, though, so we talked about Luka a little bit. LeBron's up here. I mean, what is he on the model? Number 2, right? Yeah, not that far off from Jokic. Actually, better points per dollar value on both sites, right at 10K. I like getting to LeBron. What else were you looking at on the Lakers?
Yeah, so perfectly fine with LeBron. Both sides here. I think he looks solid. And then after LeBron, wasn't really getting to too much here, at least for me. Maybe you could get a touch of Rui or Reese in the mid tier, but it's mainly just Braun for me. How about you?
I'm actually getting exposure to no one else from this team except for LeBron and Luca on
Yeah.
both sites. So that's not true. I'm getting 0.5% of Reeves on FanDuel and 0.5% of DFS. So I guess that means that they're borderline playable. Reeves, we know, has a ceiling, but 8,200 is kind of a tough price. I'd like to wait for that to come down a little bit. But I mean, Rui and Jackson Hayes versus Jokic, that's our only tall player. He has to play if he can stay out of foul trouble. And so I don't know that we can project him for much more than 24, but I think he has the potential to play more than 24. And so for that reason, I'm definitely taking shots at 3 and 2%.
Yeah, just gotta hope he doesn't pick up two quick ones.
Yeah, but apparently I got to bump him up hard because I got 0%. And so we probably got to give him like 6, 7 extra minutes and just hope because there's two sides of this coin, right? He's going up against the best player in the world in Jokic, which is obviously a terrible matchup, but he's also our best option to play against Jokic. So he has to stay on the court as long as he can keep his hands to himself. So it's tough, but I'm comfortable giving a few more minutes than we have projected, than the industry is projecting. It doesn't get me that much anyway, but I do want to have some percentage in my player pool.
No, I like that call a lot, especially he's a good producer. So if he does stay out of foul trouble, that's a great shot.
And going back to David's question about how do you determine if a player makes your pool, like Jackson Hayes, a lot of the time his median projection is terrible today. So a lot of time he just won't make the pool. If you're using optimizers, you're going to get 0% of him. But I'm making sure that I get him in my exposures because I do think that he has upside. And the model agrees. DK value is actually 13.8, which is pretty solid. 13.0 on FanDuel is fine. A little tougher because we only get one center over there. But yeah, Jackson Hayes, probably a good tournament play. It doesn't mean you jam him in, but try and get more than 3 and 2%.
Yep. Couldn't have put it better. I think that's a good shot.
What's up, Jose? You're a stud too, man. You guys are all studs if you're watching the show because you all liked it when you came in and subscribed to the channel. Appreciate you guys. Rudy Gobert ruled out for tomorrow. Don't care.
Love that.
So other side of this game with Denver, we got Jokic top of the model. We got a lot of good value plays here. Apparently, Aaron Gordon's number 1, MPJ, Jamal, Christian Brown, right on the cusp. So what are you looking at on Denver? You mentioned you like Jokic already.
Yeah, I think all these guys, at least the starters, all look really good in tournaments. Jokic, Gordon, kind of the two guys I was looking at the most here. But I think Murray and Brown, both in playing tournaments as well. I just really like the bigs here for some reason with Gordon and Jokic. So I'll probably mix in some Murray and Brown, but I love Jokic up top, and I think Gordon, one of the best value plays on the slate.
So we did see this team basically, I mean, they're at full health right now, and we saw this last game. MPJ got 29 minutes, Aaron Gordon 32, Christian Brown 32.6. His ownership 6 and 5%. I know that the price is kind of high, but I want to take tournament shots on him there. And then Russell off the bench played 25 minutes, which it's not really going to get it done. We haven't projected for 27. It just seems like too high of a projection. Yeah, he could definitely play 27. He could play 31, 32, but I don't want to project him for that much. And so I'm going to be under the field on him. Model kind of agrees. Not great points per dollar value, just okay. Just the ownership on FanDuel is a little bit too high.
Yeah, I wasn't really getting there too much, so he's fine. I just think he's overowned, like you mentioned.
And then Julian Strother projected for 22 minutes. He played 22 last game. He hasn't been great, and everyone is there. The usage is going to be lower, but I still think he's worth tournament shots at 0 and 3%. I mean, it's only a 6.5 point spread. We're not projecting blowout by any means, but it's a 244.5 total. And so I think we just want to get over the field on a lot of these guys, and no one here is like super owned. I mean, Jokic at 27%. It's not too bad. I think we can. I think we can really lean into this game here.
Yeah, I love this game, particularly this Denver side. I think they're one of the best teams to target here on the slate.
I'll just mention DeAndre Jordan's coming in for 1% ownership at 3,100 on DK. We haven't projected for 11 minutes. Not a good play at all, but someone's playing him. Just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. And then briefly to touch on Strother, 0% owned, like 4,600. It's not like the greatest play, but high game total. If you wanted to mix them in, I think it's fine.
Yeah, I'm getting more over on FanDuel, but I'm very, very low on him still. Just get a couple percent.
Yep.
We'll go to the next game, Houston, Utah. Tari Eason's out, unfortunate, because I was going to play a ton of him today. Played a lot of him yesterday. Didn't really work out. But Jabari Smith, 38%, 39% ownership. We haven't projected for 35. That seems really high coming back from the injury. But he's top play on the model. And even if you took away 2-3 minutes, he's still going to be one of the top value plays. So let's start there with Jabari Smith. What are you doing?
Yeah, love Jabari Smith here. Just great model play here, great price. Obviously, no Tyrese in here. I think he looks awesome. Just too cheap for his production, so can have a bunch of Jabari here.
You got to love this Rockets coach, man. Guy's been out for 6 weeks, comes back and plays 38 minutes in his first game. It's kind of insane. So maybe we can project him for 35 minutes, I guess. The ownership still seems very high, but kind of similar to Trent and Watford. He probably has a pretty good median like base, and then he does have that ceiling potential that I think Watford doesn't. So,
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's tough. It's going to be hard to get away from him, but if you can find an alternative, it's probably not the worst. But if he's really going to play 35 minutes, I don't know if we need to get away from him. Model absolutely loves him today.
Yeah, love Jabari.
Jalen Green, second points per dollar play on this team, double-digit OF index. He's pulling the ownership today, but I still think we can get there. I'm not quite at the 30%, but I'm pretty close.
Yeah, I think Jalen here, solid, good price point. Kind of just trying to match the field here. I think he looks just fine. Good price, good matchup, but not something I'm like hammering in like Jabari.
I'm so curious what Amin Thompson's ownership would be if he didn't go off yesterday, because he was low owned. Probably should have been, but he went off. 53% ownership on FanDuel, dude, at 8,900. Did you and Nick go pretty in depth into Amin Thompson on back-to-backs?
You mean yesterday?
I just mean in general. I can't remember who it was. Someone's been talking about it in the show. Maybe it was Smitty and Nick. But just that Amin Thompson's terrible on back-to-backs.
Yeah. Do you think it's because of like the shooter theory, or I don't know?
I don't know. This is like the most well-conditioned player in the NBA, so I feel like it shouldn't really be affecting him. But it could just be a coincidence, random. There hasn't been that many back-to-backs. The sample size is still relatively small. I don't want to use that as a reason to fade him. I do think the 53% is too much ownership for him, though.
Yeah, I think he still looks awesome, but yeah, 53%, pretty high even for a 4-gamer.
I'm still adjusting. I came out with 39% on my current FanDuel run, and so that's probably about the range that I'd like to end up at. And I'm not sitting here typing in, I want to be under the field. It's just what happened when I ran my lineups.
Chuck, the douche would disagree with you. He's going to have a bunch of Amin Thompsons in it.
I mean, I'm gonna have 40% plus, but
not enough.
It's just I don't think he's the best play on the slate by any means. 53% is kind of insane.
Yeah, it's pretty high for sure.
No faith in our Lakers tonight, huh? Joker and Murray about to combine for 150 fantasy points. I mean,
Let's do it.
if they do that, the game probably has to be close. So who are we running it back with on the Lakers side? Besides Jokic, who's the next best roster? Is that talking about just the Nuggets or overall? I can tell you right now on FanDuel, my highest exposed players overall, and this will change, but like these guys are going to be there still. Denny Avdia, Jalen Green, Sengun, Jabari Smith, Jamal Murray, Killian Hayes, Quentin Grimes. Anyone you want to add in there?
I'm gonna add just on DraftKings. I'm gonna add Aaron Gordon. He's like one of my higher plays.
Aaron Gordon. Oh, I have Aaron Gordon in there too. Did I not
Yeah,
say his name?
no, you didn't. You're good. FanDuel, he's like way tougher because he's 5,600. But
If it's just pay ups, I'm paying up for Sengun. I guess I'm paying up for Embiid and then Jokic. Still need to bump LeBron and Luca up though. On FanDuel, highest exposed are very similar. Steve Mikailu is showing up on FanDuel for me,
yeah,
I guess. That's only if he starts, I'm assuming.
2.90 F index for speed tonight. By the way,
Yeah, that's just an error. Then I probably put in the wrong projection for him.
no, you're good. It was funny.
I guess it's just we don't have that many pay ups, and so my lineups are looking pretty balanced. We do have these value pieces. I just don't know if we need them today. Let's see what we got here. Stack Nuggets against Lakers. It's looking like that might be the move. Run it back with Luca or LeBron.
I'm all for it, man. Nuggets fan right here.
What's up from San Antonio? What's up, Derek? I've spent some time in San Antonio in my life. Killian Hayes thoughts? Yeah, we talked about. I'm going to refresh the model again and hope that his stuff went down, but I'm going to be playing him a bunch. I don't know if he's a great play, but what team is Killian Hayes on?
Brooklyn. Everywhere, dude.
I mean, he's double digit value at least, but remember, we want a little bit better for points per dollar value. So, did his ownership just go down? I feel like it was a little higher a minute ago.
Yeah, I think it was closer to 30%, so I might have came down slightly.
It's like, I don't think he's a good play. No. But if he has a potential to play 25 minutes, the ownership isn't egregious. If you can find an alternative, I'd rather play the alternative, pivot to someone else on the same team. But I don't know. It's a tough one.
Yeah, I feel like he's one of the tougher like guys to try to predict here on this list.
So is Grimes a thing tonight? I don't think you have to force him in. I'll be over the field. It just, I mean, 11.5 point spread. His price makes sense. I think he's still going to be on the court, even though the usage is going to be less because everyone else is in. He just kind of fits. And it's like the ceiling potential is pretty low tonight, but he does have it. 8,800 is a little wild. Who's 8,800?
Was that Amen we was talking about?
88 for Eamon Thompson. Yeah, 88 and 89. Yeah, no, it's high, and it hurts our chances of getting the ceiling, you know, that 50 plus. But if Eamon Thompson puts up 48 tonight, he's going to be in the winning lineup. I mean, he's going to be highly owned, and 48's enough.
Yeah, on like this 4-gamer, I'm not accounting for like true ceilings as heavy as I usually do just because less games. So
And that's a bad way to think about it. Don't be like, oh, I need 48 for him to be in the winning lineup. That's not true. If he fits, play him. Like I said, we have value. We don't have to go there, but like you have to spend the salary on someone. This whole slate comes down to the Jazz. All right, let's get into the Jazz. What were your favorite spots here, Jayhawk?
man, so briefly to cover them, is Markkinen, I think he's still questionable, right?
I have him
And then
Q, yeah.
yeah, and then Collins as well. So kind of comes down to those guys. But as of right now, I think Utah here looks fine. Keontae George picking up the most steam here. He's been so tough. I've had a tough time nailing him down. I think he looks solid here. Probably my favorite play overall. And then if Collins or Kessler, or if Collins plays, I don't hate him either. Decent price point, 4-game slate. But Houston's not like necessarily a great matchup here. What's your kind of take here with Utah?
So Keontae George, man. Yeah, I'm getting a decent amount too, but I'm going to tell you what I love the model is doing today. OF index, Collier is above George, basically the same price on both sides. DK value, Collier is above George. FD value, Collier above George. So that's a spot I want to go. We're not getting that big of an ownership discount, but I'm just more comfortable with Collier. I'm looking at Keontae more as a tournament play. and Collier more is like the stable guy. At 6K, I think he's fine. It's probably my favorite play on this team.
Yeah, I like that as a pivot. Collier, definitely a good producer, so model approved pivot there.
I'm still playing a bunch of Keontae as well, and then Walker Kessler, only guy here with a double-digit OF index. Great DK value, great FD value. He's probably underowned. I'm over the field on DraftKings. I didn't quite get there on FanDuel yet, but I think I need to adjust my stuff a little bit more. He'll be even better if John Collins or Lauri Markkanen misses. Lauri Markkanen's been awful, one of the worst players in the entire NBA this season compared to what we expected, but he still takes up usage on the team. It's like if you watch the Jazz games, he still tries to shoot. He still tries to do the things he used to do. He just, for some reason, can't anymore. And so if he's out, it's going to be another boost. I want to see Filipowski as a tournament play, if especially if Collins and Markkanen both miss.
Yep, love that shout. And yeah, you mentioned that Walker Kessler would look a lot better here if one of those two are both missing.
And then did KJ Martin make his debut already? You know,
did he?
Utah played OKC yesterday. Does that sound right? Yeah. So
yes.
KJ Martin played 16 minutes. I guess I should have looked up if that was in blowout or not. He's there. He exists. He is 3,700 on both sides, 0% ownership. This is like a deep shot play, but if John Collins and or Lauri Markkanen miss, he probably is in line for more minutes. He's got to be better than Johnny Juzang, right?
Oh, definitely not Johnny Juzang.
We have him for 15 minutes right now. Watch what the model does with KJ Martin, because it's like even if the model gives him 30 minutes, a 12.6 DK value, 12.6 FD value is not quite getting there. But, tournament shots, you never know. It's kind of an unknown rotation, and I tend to want to lean into the unknown. And as for Svi, yeah, he's one of the worst plays on the model. Terrible values. Super chalk, but this is like, the model's telling us this is the most the model has ever told us to fade someone, so I need to adjust my stuff. We only have him for 12 minutes. If he starts, it's going to be different, so you have to look at the update for Svi later, because if we have him for 24 minutes, 15 FanDuel value, all of a sudden he's elite. 13 DK value, all of a sudden he's borderline elite.
Yep, agreed. Just kind of monitor the starting lineup there.
Fade Thompson due to ownership and pay up for Luka. I mean, I still feel more comfortable with Thompson than I do with Luka tonight.
Yeah, I'm not like huge on Luka. I think, I'd much prefer Amon.
Would you play Hayes and Keon together? I don't know, because usually I don't really want to set rules for short slates especially, but with these nets, I mean, are you getting a bunch of nets in your lineups?
Outside of Cam Johnson and Killian, I'm not getting a ton, no.
So you're not really getting those combos.
Yeah. I think Keon's fine. I'm not getting a bunch of those guys together.
Wow. My top lineup right now actually only has one net on DraftKings, and it's Nick Claxton, 5,400, decent tournament shot. I don't think I hate that, though. Killian Hayes and Keon. If I'm hand building, it's not something I would do. I don't know that I want to set a rule for it in the optimizer, though, but I would probably just say be careful with that. It's a low total. We don't want to play a lot from this game, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that's a great shot. Low total, and it's still Brooklyn. Sorry, Nick, it's still Brooklyn, but yeah.
Clarkson is out too. Oh yeah, Clarkson's out. I don't know. It's at the bottom of my list. Collier runs it all. Yeah, I love it, dude. I'm a big fan of Collier. Luka's minutes still limited. Yeah, it's risky. I want to have exposure because it's still Luka and his ownership is low. But yeah, just watching the games, looking at the box score, everything we've seen points to not playing Luka. But still play him a little bit.
You got to play Luka a little bit. So.
Last game on the slate, we got Charlotte at Portland. What do we got going on in Charlotte? Who's
got
out
a lot
here? Yeah. LaMelo's in. Everyone's in. We already have the news here. We're good. Daquan Jeffries is out. It's only kind of new thing. But we have Miles Bridges, who scored 71 DK points or FanDuel points, whatever, last time, showing up for 10% ownership. Obviously, it's much different because LaMelo's back tonight. LaMelo, poor points per dollar play. Model saying we can fade, but model's kind of saying to fade everyone today, isn't it? So what do you want to do with Charlotte, Jayhawk?
Yeah, so typically I would stand for LaMelo here, but on this slate, I just much prefer getting to guys I think that have bigger ceilings. I mean, LaMelo obviously huge ceiling, but he just hasn't really flashed it recently. So I think he's still fine at his ownership, but I'm probably going to be looking elsewhere for the most part. And then after LaMelo, I think all these guys just look like if you get them, you get them. I'm not like in love with any of these guys.
It's just so LaMelo's the guy that I'm getting here. Not much. I'm not getting to much of anyone from this team. I will point out Miles Bridges, the model still likes borderline elite almost. 8,400 on DK seems better than the 8,700 on FanDuel. I mean, it's a 5-point spread. 225 total isn't great, but we can still take tournament shots here. And then Nurkic, just terrible across the board, projected for 18 minutes. He did smash last time. Let's see. Kind of feels to me like this team, you kind of have to go beyond the model if you want to get to guys here.
Yeah, and like Nick Smith, I typically would like to play, but with LaMelo in here, 5K price point, it's just not a guy I really love playing here.
And again, back to that like median projection versus ceiling thing. Consider guys like Trenton Watford versus Nurkic. Like Nurkic feels pretty safe to give us around 20 fantasy points, right? Stuff is going to happen where he's going to score less than that, but he also has a ceiling to give us 35. He only played 19 minutes, which is concerning, but very high fantasy points per minute guy. So what was his ownership? 10%, 5%. It's tough with the guys back, but I don't see why. How many minutes did Mark Williams play? Were you looking at Mark Williams?
So not tonight. I think he's 1% owned. I just don't love the price point here. I think he's fine at 1%, but not a guy I'm like flocking to get to.
It's like he was playing 31 to 33 minutes when he was going off before the trade deadline. 29. I mean, we can probably assume him and Nurk just play all 48 center minutes together. So 29 for Mark Williams, 19 for Nurk. I mean, Nurk at 19 can still get there. We've seen it. And then maybe Mark Williams gets into foul trouble. Doesn't really get into foul trouble, but if he does, could be a couple more minutes for Nurkic. So I guess I don't mind getting to either of these two guys. I don't have any exposure right now, but I need to adjust my stuff.
Yeah, I think Nurkic is a good producer. So at his price, I still think he has ways to get there.
To Jane Saloon, one of the worst plays in the model. Again, I already said it. If you want to play guys from this team, you probably got to go beyond the model. Model saying he's not a good play at 21 minutes, but he's 3,600, and we know guys like this like get a couple extra rebounds, hit 3 threes. That could be enough on today's slate.
Yeah, typically I'm not a huge Saloon guy, but 3% owned. I'm probably not going to get there, but he's cheap.
Yeah, Nurkic did start the last game, and he had the revenge narrative against Jokic. So maybe he was a little extra motivated that game, but we don't need the 35 from him for him to be a good play. It's just the 5% and zero. Like, I don't know that we're going to get there on FanDuel, but 4,600 on DK, I want to take some shots. And 5,500, he could still get there on FanDuel. There are many paths to it working out at 0% ownership.
And then, go ahead, Brett.
No, dude, that was a Saloon looks like a baby giraffe out there. That was a good one, dude.
That's good. And then Miles Bridges, are we going to see just a masterclass again tonight, or can I just fade him and hope he doesn't kill me?
I mean, 7 and 10% doesn't seem bad. I don't want to say get over the field. I do want to play him, though. My initial runs, I got 0. And so I'm going to have to adjust him to make sure I get him in there. And then I guess I do have a couple percent of Nick Smith. He's showing up as just a fine value, maybe last play type in guy, 4,800. Again, though, like his median projection really isn't that good, and his ceiling potential isn't that good either. So is he even worth the 7 and 6% ownership? Maybe. Let's jump to last team on the slate today, Portland, other side of this game. Jeremy Grant, dude. Why is he at the top of value today? 21% ownership. Good price on both sites, but he's been so bad, man. Jeremy Grant. Are you getting much exposure to him?
Short answer, no. I just think, the floor hasn't been there. Has he really flashed the ceiling either? Like, it's been questionable. I much prefer Danny on this team as well. So, at least for me, I think Jeremy Grant's one of the guys I'm lower on. I don't want to go against the model here, but I don't know. I'm kind of lower on him in general.
Shooting like 34% from the field on the season, and he's still only taking 10, 11 shots a game. 15, 14, 13. We're seeing improvement. That's awesome. I'll point out we haven't projected for 31.6 minutes. He played 30 in a close game against the Lakers. Terrible game, but like if he has a potential to get up to 38, 37, 41 minutes, 34, and Aiton's out, and so there's a few extra minutes to go around. I don't know. I don't like it, but I am going to be playing Jeremy Grant today. And Model is saying, like I said, Model wants to fade everyone. Model's telling us we can get over the field on Jeremy Grant. I know how disgusting it feels, but I think we can just try it.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
Make sure. I'm definitely there on DraftKings and then on FanDuel. Yeah, I'm well over the field on FanDuel with Jeremy Grant. So have a ton on FanDuel, not as much on DK, still over the 21%. And then Denny and Anthony Simons are my next two guys on both sites. What do you think about that?
Yep, love those two. Particularly Denny. I just think he fits a lot of builds here tonight, especially on DraftKings. And then I think Anthony looks great as well. Good price. Obviously, no Aiden. Good matchup. So it is a low total, but I think a lot of these guys still look good.
Yeah, Denny's going to be the chalk here. 44% DK, 23% FanDuel. 9.0 OF index is pretty good at his price. Elite value, borderline elite on FanDuel. So love Denny. Anthony Simons, model's a little bit lower on him, 26 and 27% ownership. The price is still fine. It is coming up a little bit, but we can still get there. Scoot, I think he's a really deep pivot. I don't quite understand this 24% on FanDuel at 5,200. But I mean, I'm not going to have zero of him. And then Shaden Sharp models. Model's not into it, but I don't mind taking some shots. His ownership is not too high.
Yeah, Shaden's interesting. I didn't really know what to do with him today, honestly.
We haven't projected for 25 minutes, and it's like he should be playing more than 25 minutes. 21:30, so it's like plus or minus 5 minutes is gigantic. So he is a GPP play. He's in there. I guess he's kind of a pivot off like Jeremy Grant, Avdia, and Simons, because if he goes off, it probably takes a little away from the other guys. But I don't mind getting a couple of these guys in my lineup. My single entry actually right now just has Denny, but I'm sure that will change.
Yeah, same here.
And then I wanted to talk about Klingon versus Robert Williams because I love Klingon. I think he's one of the best tournament plays on the slate. Projected for 14 and 5%. I would not be surprised if he came in higher because I'm pretty sure the field has been planning. I was shocked when he came in like 22% owned the other night as the last game, like on a huge slate where we had a ton of news. So I think the field is kind of preparing for stuff like this. And it's like we already have the news that we need, right? If Robert Williams ends up out, Donovan Klingon's going to look even better. Probably going to be the best play on the slate, actually, if Robert Williams is out. But as it is right now, I think he's an awesome play. I want to be over the field at lock and just hope that news breaks my way.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. Williams is questionable. If he's out, I mean, Klingon just is going to look awesome here. Good price, good matchup, low ownership. Love it.
And if Robert Williams plays, I think he's fine too. 18% might it's like, dang, that's kind of high for a backup center, but it's just him and Klingon. Even if they exactly split 24 and 24, or maybe like 26-22 in Klingon's favor, that's still enough minutes for both of them to get there. Do you want to set any type of rules for max one per lineup?
Yeah, so that's tough. I feel like Williams sub 4K, he could probably still get there, but they're still splitting the minutes, so it's I don't know. This one's tough. I feel like I probably would, but what would you do here?
If this was the first game and we knew for sure Robert Williams was in, I would set that. I wouldn't care to set that rule. I would allow
Okay.
it since they're both kind of cheap. And it's against Charlotte. But because it's the last game, if Robert Williams ends up out, and let's say for some reason those are my last two guys in a lineup, Klingon and Robert Williams, it's just my swaps are dead. There's no one to swap to for Robert Williams. So, and it's like the chances of them both going off are pretty slim. The idea is we want one of them to get in foul trouble or something and one of them to take over. So
Yeah,
maybe we just want to try and capture the ceiling.
that's what I was thinking. Try to get a ceiling on one.
Yeah, Time Lord Robert Williams.
Celtics legend.
I don't think we got an update on him yet. Grant sucks. Believe me, I know, dude. I know. I've been talking. I don't think I've ragged on any other. Maybe Mike Conley. Those are the two players I've ragged on the most this season. Jeremy Grant and him. He's bad, man. But he's cheap. We got to play him. It's different when he's 5K versus 6,500.
Yeah, he has a ceiling like you mentioned. So
Douche doesn't think he can be over that ownership on whatever player we were talking about 4 minutes ago.
Eamon Thompson, I think it was. I think he was watching on replay.
Do I think Robert Williams plays after midday downgrade? I sure hope not.
Yeah, I hope he sits.
It's probably okay to plan for him to be out. It's just the issue is don't have 100% Klingon, because Klingon, like I said, he's going to be the best play on the slate. I think the field's going to prepare. You're not going to get that large of an advantage by, setting up for that at lock. Oh, the
Yeah.
Bulls are playing right now. Nice. Just got a notification for Kobe White. Cash play thoughts for DK. Let me just refresh the model. I mean, we usually just advocate for sort by highest owned. Model approves of basically all these guys. Top 5 here, if you can fit them in a lineup, that's probably a good cash start. Like, Model's a little bit lower on Amon, but at his ownership, if you can fit him in, I don't know you want to fade guys like this in cash. That's what tournaments are for.
Yep. I was going to say the same thing. The top 4 guys.
Yeah, like, and then on DK, like Jabari Smith, Aaron Gordon. You can skip Jeremy Grant in cash. There's enough other forward options at 5K.
Yeah.
You went safe in your big lineup that had Klingon and just took Claxton. Yeah, I like it. Let's take a quick look at centers. Just sorting by OF index, Jokic, Sengun, Embiid, Kessler, Williams. Where's Claxton? Dang, Claxton's kind of lower than I was hoping he'd be. 5,400, but he is one of the only guys under 10% here. Mark Williams at 1%. He has a ceiling. Like, Nurkic is here, so the minute ceiling is capped, but something to note looking at these center ownerships. It's interesting. Then on FanDuel, Jabari Smith, he's going to get a lot of his ownership at, I guess he's power forward only there. So, yeah, center's kind of interesting on FanDuel, though.
Yeah, did we kind of touch on Sengun? Do you like him tonight?
I do. Yeah, it's like I talked about it yesterday. His medium projection's whatever, but his ceiling potential is pretty good. And against Utah, this is Walker Kessler is an amazing defensive player, but this is a matchup I want to target bigs against. Embiid is fine. Jokic is fine. It's just, I don't know. The other centers aren't that appealing to me today, so I want to go off the board with like Kling and Claxton.
Yeah, I like that.
Did you place any prop bets today, Jayhawk? You got any steals or blocks props?
No steals and blocks prods, but I mean, if we do get Williams out, maybe some clean and block time. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough for me. I'd want to if I was going to do that, I would take over rebounds for Klingon right now, but I don't know if the lines have adjusted. I didn't have time to dig in today. One of the first times I haven't.
Yeah. Go ahead.
FanDuel core, I'll just show real quick. I mean, Amon Thompson, dude. Highest exposed guy. Jabari, LeBron, Walker Kessler, Aaron Gordon, Jeremy Grant, MPJ, Jalen Green, Zaire Williams. These are the top plays, points per dollar plays from the model over on FanDuel. I mean, they all make sense to me. It's kind of a disgusting group of players. You can probably make a close to a lineup with this. You need a point guard, but LeBron James, it's pretty significant when guys that are this expensive are showing up near the top of value for both sites. We need to pay attention. So LeBron, model saying LeBron is easily the top pay up tonight, and we can get him at 15 and 34% ownership.
Yeah, super high OF index for LeBron too. Definitely something to note for.
You got Reeves, Braun left in your player pool. How can I get these players in your lineups? Not sure I understand the question.
Yeah.
If it's asking what players to play around them, we have the value on we have the value guys to fit around them. It's not hard today. Which one of these jazz forwards go off? I mean, Filipowski's probably the guy I'd like to take shots on. I wish the price was a couple hundred lower, but there's like no one else here. I mean, Svi, if Svi ends up starting and Laurie and John Collins are out, then yeah, we're going to take shots there. I mean, his ownership's up to 28%.
Yeah, I was going to say Svi as well, so perfect.
Dylan Brooks, 4.8K. What's his ownership? 22%, dude. It's fine. Like, I don't hate it. I might end up with a little bit less, but again, just a guy that fits in. His median projection is terrible, but his ceiling is like a few times a season. He'll hit 6 threes or whatever.
You just got to be the lucky guy that gets it, or girl that hits Dylan Brooks on the right day.
Jose, have you been paying attention, dog? We've been sitting here talking about Klingon for 10 minutes. Yeah, we love him. Even if Robert Williams is in, we still like him. If Robert Williams ends up getting ruled out, I feel like the field is preparing for this, so I'm expecting Klingon's ownership to come in higher than what we're projecting, but he's still awesome, and it's not a bad matchup for him.
Yeah, love clean.
Would you play Jabari over Aaron Gordon on FanDuel? I hate both of them. Like, I hate making the decision, I should say. Model has Jabari over Aaron Gordon by a bit. And, Jabari Smith, we haven't projected for 6 more minutes. That's pretty significant.
I would definitely say Jabari too. He's just such a good player.
Yeah, they're both a very strong value, though. And it's like, I say they're disgusting. I'm playing a ton of both of them. So let's build a dummy. Let's get this guy in here, Jabari Smith, huh?
Let's get him in there.
Did we want to put Aaron? Go ahead.
Yeah, Aaron Gordon's good.
All right, who's your first guy in?
I was gonna say Donovan Clingan because we've been talking about him.
Yeah, let's get Clingan at center. Clingan at center. Put Aaron Gordon in the other forward spot for now. I don't really want to use my center spot, even though I said center's kind of murky today. By DK value, what else do we got? Do we have a point guard? We'll get Denny in there for sure. Do we want to put in? We got to put in Braun. Do we want to put in Jamal?
I like Jamal, especially for not playing Jokic.
All right, let's try if we can fit this. Denny, Jamal. Leaves us 7K per player, and LeBron. And then let's do the disgusting thing and put Killian Hayes in. Leaves us 7,300 for Jalen Green. Like, this is the nuts, dude. This is the Occupy special today. And so model's low on Hayes. I don't think there's an alternative, though, at his price. Man, none of these guys are viable pivots. Yeah, we could get Grimes in there. Grimes, 5,100. 5,800 for a second guard. Kelly Oubre, Scoot, Kamara. We didn't mention Kamara. This guy has a ceiling, though. 42, 30, 40, 42, 36. What was his ownership? Forgot to mention him when we're talking about Portland. 17 and 23. So the ownership's there, but I think he's still fine. He's worth shots. Projected for 35 minutes. He's probably, I'm going to put him very close to that Lou Dort category of defensive players.
Yep, very good defensive player. And then I will say we don't have Cam Johnson in the dummy. I think he would be a good play for your build it wherever. We don't have to have him in the house.
I really hate to go against the model, but I'm having a tough time getting to Cam Johnson.
No, that's fair.
Cam Johnson, 5,700. It's not going to work. Let's see. 4,900 for a guard. Nick Smith Jr., Zaire Williams, Strother, Mikhailou. Got some options.
Yeah, that first dummy we had, that's going to ship tonight, man. I feel it.
You like Jock Landale with Adams, Eason, and Tate out? Did we have him projected for Jock Landale? We have for 13 minutes, 1% ownership. Just 3,800 is a different price than like 3,300. And so I don't hate it. Like I said, center is kind of not great tonight. It's a little deep though. And then I saw Aaron Holiday as a pivot off Killian Hayes. He's pulling pretty heavy ownership, 14 and 10%. It's a lot for Aaron Holiday. Typically a fan of his overall. What do you think about him today?
Yeah, even with VanVleet out here, we haven't projected for 21 minutes. He's a pretty decent producer, but he's a little bit chalky. So I don't know if I can say I love him, but I think he's fine at his ownership.
I think I'll describe him the same way. He's fine. I don't see him as a pivot off of Hayes. I think if you want to pivot off Hayes, you just play anyone else. But he does unlock a couple things with the lineup, I guess. Gives you 7,200. Lets you get back to Laurie. Gross.
Laurie Market.
Jokic about to have a career night. We're sleeping on it. He might, man. Jackson Hayes is going to have to lock in.
Thing is, Jokic, he's not afraid to spread the ball around. That's why, like, he still has a ceiling, but it's still Jokic. He wants to spread the ball around.
Collier or George. Model had Collier by quite a bit, and my personal feelings are Collier too. Yeah, Collier. Yeah. I guess it's not that much, but it's enough to say Collier is the better play on the model, and we're getting a bit lower ownership on both sides.
Yep, model approved Collier there.
It's just when I think about the way that Keontae gets there, it's him taking over the game by scoring a lot of points. When I think about Collier getting there, like I've watched a fair amount of him play this season, and this guy gets to the rim almost at will. And so his assists are it creates such a good floor for him. And then if he can just hit a couple shots, like he's not a good scorer, but if he can just hit a couple shots, get an extra steal or two, I'm a lot more comfortable playing that angle than playing Keontae at the ownership. Still playing a ton of Keontae though. Go ahead.
Yeah, Keontae's just a pure scorer, man. Like he does assist it too, but Collier, like I feel like he is a safer floor with his assisting and rebounding.
It's like I see the fire in Keontae's eyes whenever he touches the ball, and this dude does not want to pass. He hates passing that basketball, man. While Collier, this dude might lead the league in assists in 5 years.
Yeah, Keontae is a hog for sure.
Curious what Houston does in a cake matchup on a back-to-back. It's an 8-point spread. It's not quite blowout territory. Hopefully Houston just plays regular minutes. They did play kind of heavy minutes yesterday, but I mean, they're fresh off the All-Star break. They're all young guys. They should be good to go. And so I didn't make any adjustments. I have that thing in the back of my head about Amon being bad on back-to-backs, but remember the sample size is really small, and so it could just be coincidence that he's had bad shooting nights on those days. Min Rockets, and who would you run back from Jazz? Minimum Rockets? I don't think there's a minimum. I mean, well, my top lineup has 3 right now. I didn't put any rules for that, though.
Yeah, no rules, but they look really good overall, the Rockets.
Yeah, some combination of Jabari, Jalen Green, and Sengun. Maybe 2 of those 3 if you're hand building. But getting all 3 of those is fine in a lineup, I think. Looks like I'm running back with Keontae George. Hate it, but it's what it is. It's what fits. How scary of a fade for Joker? It's harder to fade him tonight because there's only 4 games. So it's like, because on the 9-game slates, Joker puts up 70. He's not in the winning lineup because, 6 other players put up 50 fantasy points at half the price. Tonight, that's not possible. So we don't need that ceiling from Jokic to get there. It's possible that raw points are just very important. So Jokic is fine. The ownership isn't even like high or anything, 28 and 19%. It's not hard to get with the field or even get slightly over that.
Yeah, I feel like the ownership probably comes in higher. I feel like it always does with him, but he has a huge ceiling.
And then last question, LaMelo. I mean, model saying that he's kind of a fade, but 10.3 OF index, 9,600, 9,500. I guess the model's probably saying the ownership's just a little bit too high. He's fine. I'm getting exposure. I'm below the 27% and the 16%. I think we want to take tournament shots on Miles Bridges if we want to get to someone here. Much better points per dollar play than LaMelo. Higher absolute projection than LaMelo. Remember, OF index is not price sensitive. So when you see something like Miles Bridges higher than LaMelo, the model is projecting Miles Bridges for more fantasy points than LaMelo today. No one else in the industry is close to doing that. So that's a spot that we can take advantage of.
Yep, couldn't have put it better. I'm pretty much off LaMelo as well.
Yeah, and remember, it's not going to work out every time, but the times that it does work out, it works out often enough that it's just so much more powerful than the times that it hurts us when we make these risks. So appreciate you guys. I think Jayhawk, you're running the Discord today.
Yep. Hop in the Discord if you are in the Occupy Fantasy Discord. We will talk about the top plays and late news as it comes in.
Yeah, that'll get started in about 20 minutes. Instructions to join that are in the description below. If you like the things we're talking about, you like the model, you can sign up for our site so you can see the model updates when late news happens, when we're not on stream. We have plans starting it as little as $7 a week. It's $1 a day. It's one of the best values in strategy for fantasy sports. See all the sports we're offering. We've been crushing spring training. I think our boy Smitty is actually the author. I think he shipped both slates today, the main and afternoon. So shout out to him. Or he got very close. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Appreciate it and good luck tonight.